What is going on, everyone? I just got back from watching The Green Knight in theaters, and this is my review on the movie. So right off the bat, I never realized how controversial the pronunciation of Gawain or Gawain really was until this movie came out, and I started to look into a lot of stuff around this film, and they even in the film pronounce his name really weird and stuff. But being a fan of the original tale, reading it as a kid, I remember just really loving that story. I loved all of the Arthurian tales, but that one in particular was one that always stuck out to me and continues to stick out to people in general, just because there's so many great themes and questions in that story about life and death and everything else. But all of that aside, I grew up saying Gawain, and that's how I'm going to pronounce his name for this review. Subjective, it is what it is. But with that being said, if you haven't actually read the story, I highly recommend that you go do so. Especially check out the one and only, the great J.R.R. Tolkien's adaptation of the story, his translation of it, because it is fantastic. It is from the great Tolkien, so of course it's going to be fantastic, but I highly recommend going to check that out if you haven't read the story before. But going into this film, I was a little bit skeptical. I was a little bit nervous because we know how Hollywood is, right? And especially when it comes to adapting Arthurian tales, 99% of the time, Hollywood completely just sucks at it. But I did not leave this film disappointed, and I was happy about that. So I left with a lot of questions, a lot of wonder, a lot of thoughts about the film, but disappointment was not one of the things that I felt about this movie, and I'm very happy for that. So if you going into this film, if you do end up going to watch it, I will say that you will be disappointed if you go into this film expecting an action-packed typical Hollywood movie where, it's very on the surface. There's a lot of just action, and that's about all that there is to the film. There isn't really any substance or depth to it. If that is what you're going into this film expecting, you will be disappointed, because this movie isn't that. This isn't your typical Hollywood film. This movie was made by A24 Studios, and I love the studio so much. They produce some of the best films out there today. They made films like Ex Machina. They made films like Midsommar, which I don't know if you guys have seen Midsommar, but I loved it just because it was super weird. They made films like Hereditary. They've made tons of other films, but the thing that I love so much about A24 is that they are willing to take risks, that they are willing to produce films that you don't see from any other studio in Hollywood, and they typically shy away from woke messaging as well, which I appreciate, but they're willing to allow their filmmakers, their creators, to create what they want to put their vision into their movies. And you absolutely felt that with The Green Knight. You could tell this film was made by David Lowery, who also made films like A Ghost Story, which was also an A24 production. He did a great job. You could tell that he was pouring his care into this, that he wanted to craft something truly special and something that you typically don't see from Hollywood, and he absolutely nailed that. I loved this film, and talking about it just makes me so excited because I have to go back and watch this film again. This is a film that you can't just watch in one sitting and truly comprehend. It is a film that has a lot of depth to it, a lot of layers to it. This movie was basically, in a lot of ways, a character study of Gawain, with very deep and interesting questions about honor and death and life, which are kind of the main themes of this film. But everything in this film really paints a canvas of those themes. And everything contributed to the showcase of these things, from the colors, the lighting, the characters. Everything in this film is part of this canvas to complement and focus on and make more clear the themes of honor and death and life. And I found that to be truly fascinating, how everything was put into it to basically showcase those themes. It was really cool. Like, the way that color is used in this film, from like the greens and the yellows and the blues and the reds, it is amazing. Even whites have their place in this film, and it's all for a purpose. It's all to tell a story. And like I said, this film is a film I'm going to have to go back and watch again and really focus on the themes and the elements of those themes, because it is a film that has a lot of depth to it. And I love that. I love watching films that have depth that leave me with lots of thoughts and questions and wondering why this is that way in the film and stuff. And this film absolutely does a great job with all of that. So the cinematography was great in this film. The sets and the design and the color are amazing. The acting was phenomenal, particularly from Dev Patel, who is who is a fantastic actor. I remember when I first watched him in Slumdog Millionaire and seeing how far he has come as an actor. I mean, he was great in Slumdog as well, but I think this is one of his best performances yet in this film. He absolutely just knocks it out of the park. This film was absolutely and truly a great work and a great adaptation of the story of Gawain and the Green Knight. There's definitely a few moments where they take creative liberties in this film and stuff, but overall it really captured the spirit and the story of Gawain and the Green Knight, all the way down to some of the minor details, including the Green Knight riding in to challenge the knights holding the holly branch. That is in this film, and when I saw that, it just reminded me of that imagery that I got as a kid reading the story, and then I'm seeing it, I'm like, that is so awesome. They even captured that tiny detail, which could be insignificant to just any old Joe who's just trying to make a movie and stuff, but the fact that they put that in there really is awesome. And you know, they're never going to make a film that is a complete 100% adaptation of the source material. I mean, Peter Jackson, he made Lord of the Rings, right? Like, Lord of the Rings are my favorite movies of all time. I think they are masterpieces. But even then, Peter Jackson took his own liberties in creating those films from the story of that Tolkien told, because he needed to obviously, you know, translate it to cinema. And the same thing happens with the Green Knight here. There's definitely some creative liberties that are taken, but they are small and few in between, and they really help actually complement the story of Gawain, because the story really is a character study and a character piece of Gawain. That's what this whole movie is about, and the decisions of what David Lowery made in order to kind of tell that story that are different than the original story are really there to kind of round out the story and make it truly about Gawain and his journey of finding honor even in the face of death. So this is honestly one of the best Arthurian adaptations that I have seen, and it isn't even really about King Arthur, but it is a great adaptation. King Arthur is in this, and it's really cool to see him. I mean, it's really cool. There's so many little things in this film that you can really just go back and watch again and pick up that you didn't watch the first time. Like, I think if I went back and watched this film over and over again, I would find something new every single time, and I love that about this. I'm just getting so excited just talking about it, and it makes me want to go back and watch it again, because it is truly a film that you don't typically see from Hollywood, and I think that is a good thing. I think that is an awesome thing. This is a film that really focuses on trying to tell the story, the Arthurian tale, and the, you know, capturing the character of Sir Gawain. And I think it does a great job with that. So with that being said, I highly recommend this movie. Make sure that you go check it out in cinema if you get a chance, because this is a film that absolutely deserves to be watched in cinema. This is a cinematic film. This is a film that has a lot of beauty to it, a lot of very interesting themes and elements, and it is all done masterfully, in my opinion. So with that being said, subscribe for new. I'd appreciate that a lot. Let me know what you think about the film if you've seen it. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Please leave a like. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you later.